Greetings, Culturians, and welcome back to the channel. We have to talk about something ridiculous. We have to talk about whether or not Marvel is still relevant. And the reason we have to talk about that is because Disney's making us ask this question. Not just because they have films coming out here in the future or they have more bad ideas for bad television like Wonder Man, but because we don't even know if it's relevant anymore. You see, Disney has been destroying themselves and Marvel specifically for the better part of the last half decade. That's right. Ever since Endgame came out, it's been a downhill slide that they're trying to stop, which is what Avengers Doomsday is all about. Except for one problem. Is there enough left in the tank with the older stars, with the older heroes, with the heroes people actually like to be successful? In other words, is Doomsday doomed? Well, let's talk about it. Here we go. Now, before we get started, just a real quick reminder, I'm trying to get to 50K. I can do that with your help, so please look down below, make sure and confirm you're still subscribed to the channel. Hit the little bell icon and turn on all notifications so you don't miss anything, and then hit the thumbs up button on the video. And when we're done, or we'll get close to done, or whenever you've heard enough, because again, we're talking about Marvel, can be kind of boring, well, just, make a comment. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you think I'm absolutely insane for thinking that this could actually happen. We could actually have another failed Marvel movie like the previous three, and many more before that in phases 4 and 5. Avengers Doomsday box office expectations are not high. They're not failure, they're not flop, but they're not a runaway train like Endgame. Can it bring back Marvel glory days? I don't know. This is a good question from Matt McGloin over at Cosmic Book News, so let's take a look at it, shall we? With Avengers Doomsday set to hit theaters on December 18th, which is just a little over a year from now, the early industry chatter is split on whether the film can recapture the box office magic of its multi-billion-dollar predecessors. My answer to that is no. And the reason why is because most people are gone, and films have become more expensive to go to and require more investment than they have before, with little coming back to you individually in return. In capitalism, we want some value for our money, and you've been so discourteous and devalued the things that we used to enjoy so dramatically that we stopped going to see your bologna sausage, your terrible films, your supposed Marvel masterpieces or tentpoles. And, it's not just Marvel that's suffering from this. Our apathy came out of your lack of, attention to detail, creativity, and quality. And therefore, we don't show up anymore. And we probably aren't going to in big numbers for this one. In fact, Variety says that the movie's a safe bet with star power. And they're not wrong. In the 2026 box office preview, which was an interesting story to say the least, Variety labels Avengers Doomsday as a safe bet. Not a sure thing, thanks to the high wattage return of Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans, alongside fan favorites and newcomers from the X-Men and Fantastic Four. Well, that's a stretch because I don't see any upside to the newcomers, and I'm not sure that the old X-Men are going to play well, especially when a lot of them on the team will either be dead or dying soon. And in a lot of the previews that we've seen, the teaser trailers that have dropped, we already have the foreshadowing of all of that. It's going to be a hot mess, and it's all divided into multiple Avengers teams that are going to be trying to stop Doom from doing Doomsday. And if you paid any attention, they're threatening the children. Isn't it just like Disney to threaten the kids? Anyway, the outlet describes the film as a true "the gang's all here" extravaganza and suggests that long absence of Avengers brand, 6 years since Endgame, that's $2.8 billion that they used to make. In those 6 years, you've got just a complete garbage can of also-rans. Look, I'm not and haven't been a fan of everything since Endgame. I wasn't a person who enjoyed any part of Phase 4 or Phase 5 and called it out for what it was. DEI also rans and, well, messaging, lecturing, and hectoring, which everybody's tired of. But still, Variety warns the superhero fatigue may exist, noting that Marvel's recent outings like the Thunderbolts therapy session, Captain America Brave New World, or otherwise known as Captain Falcon, and the Fantastic Four First Steps all underperformed. And that's the nice way to say it. The films absolutely flopped, making not $1, but instead costing Disney over $100 million in each of their dramatic failures. And it wasn't them alone. Disney has really not done a good job of being a steward of anything. Not a good steward anyway, even of Star Wars and many other franchises that are now in the trash heap or the graveyard of what used to be good and what used to bring in audiences. But they're not alone. Other institutions have done so similarly. Regardless, while the movie has all the ingredients for a hit, the question remains whether the audiences are still hungry for Marvel's brand of spectacle. In my opinion, which is why you're here, I'm not sure. I can't answer that question. I don't know, because I don't feel anything when I watch Chris Evans as Captain America holding a child. I don't get super ooey gooey seeing Thor interact with his supposed daughter or some other piece of garbage left over from Thor Love and Thunder. I'm getting a little bit annoyed with the recall and re-killing of Professor X and many of the other favorite X-Men that I grew up with. How about you? Those spectacles aren't going to sell again and again and again because what is this? Professor X dying for the 4th time? Maybe 5? I think everybody's tired of it. But Puck News is out there saying it's not going to be number 1. Puck News' tone overall has been more skeptical when it comes to Marvel, but again, so have I. I've been much more skeptical of any of these entities doing what they used to do, because they let their politics run away with, well, everything. Not just because of, well, who they get to do the casting, but the people that they pick to direct or write or produce or cast. It's been a hot mess for a while, all driven by political messaging that has failed universally across the globe. Industry insiders suggest that Doomsday won't be the top grossing film of 2026. Yeah, I agree. It won't be. And that's despite the studio's massive investment in bringing back Downey and Evans and spending the kind of money that they're spending just in the production of this one film. Not even Secret Wars, which is down the road, along with, well, Battleworld and everything else that's, well, been leaked to me will be part of Secret Wars and the upcoming disasters that they're going to be dealing with in the future. The piece argues that Marvel's golden era is over, which I think we would all agree with, and that the past several years of inconsistent garbage and the, again, hectoring, lecturing storytelling have shrunk the MCU's cultural footprint and the interest. Because again, you didn't have a built-in comic book audience. You grew from a built-in comic book audience, a new group of invested normies that actually tried to learn some lore along the way. And as the lore was presented, they developed their own fan favorites and their appreciation for what was being presented. And then you took it all away, which, again, absent cultural depth and the penetration of the larger zeitgeist, you don't stick around very long. This is a nostalgia play, according to Puck Media, writing it quite bluntly, adding that Disney's marketing is banking hard on emotional callbacks and fan service. And if you haven't noticed the fan service, it's everywhere. You didn't need a line of chairs to tell you just how desperate Disney was. You're going to get a second line of chairs to remind you coming into the film itself. And while the film may still clear about $1.25 billion, maybe 100, yeah, maybe 1.5 billion. Puck doesn't see it breaking any records. It certainly isn't going to break 2 billion, and it's certainly not going to get up there where Endgame finished. There's strong competition this year from Disney's own Toy Story 5 and Sony's Spider-Man Brand New Day. And there's other things out there on the horizon, including a Spielberg film and a few other things that not only will be a little competitive, they may be absolutely destructive to Marvel. And that wouldn't surprise me at all. So what's the verdict on this movie? Well, could be an event movie. It could just be another comeback. And frankly, I don't expect more than a comeback. There's a lot of mixed signals out there. Avengers Doomsday remains one of the most anticipated films of the year, especially in China, which isn't necessarily good news for Disney because they don't strip very much of that money out of that country. If you think that if they're lucky, they get 25% of the returns in the box office, but probably closer to 20%, which may not even be worth it. The return of Robert Downey Jr. and Evans alone are definitely going to give this film massive attention, especially for people who've been missing that dynamic, that interesting dynamic that those two actors brought to those two roles in a way that made not only the Marvel humor funnier, but more relevant and more interesting, to be fair. If the early trailers and word of mouth actually land right, it could explode at the box office. It's possible. This is written from a perspective of woulda, coulda, shoulda, maybe. But one thing's clear. Doomsday isn't just fighting Kang or Galactus. It's battling something with even greater force, something that's more powerful. Audience apathy, which I talked about before. We even got into it here. Kevin Feige's post-Endgame slate was complete garbage, introducing a lot of storylines, and casting a lot of heroes and villains that really weren't fan favorites and were never going to be. Whether or not we return to Wakanda, which seems to be guaranteed in this upcoming film, or we end up somehow underwater with Namor, I still don't see a winner here. How about you? That's right. It's time for your input. Down in the comments section below, let me know what you think. Is Marvel headed forward with a winner or another also ran? Is this a potential flop or will it just merely underperform? Is it going to be the biggest box office of the year? Or is it going to fall somewhere in the middle of all the tent poles that we have on the horizon? And finally, are you interested in Avengers Doomsday right before next Christmas 2026? Again, let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Be sure to hit that thumbs up button on the way out the door. And be sure to take care of yourself. Take care of others. And until next time, see ya. Maybe, just maybe, at Avengers Doomsday.